is back at it. Yeah, I know we've been gone for the last 2 weeks. A bit of a work vacation is what we're going to call it, just with our schedules. It's kind of become our normal rhythm. In the middle of the year, we kind of have 2 weeks off. So, first off, thank you all so much for being patient and joining us again today. Tubby, it's good to be back, man.
It's good to be back. I'm ready to talk some sports. It's been a little bit, and my brain's gonna explode, I think.
Yeah, who you been downloading all the sports with? I mean, since our last one, we've had the Thunder that won the championship. The
Yeah.
Rafi Devers, I think he got traded right before. At this point, it's all blending together to
Yeah.
the Giants. We've had the NBA draft. We've had quite a bit of movement just in the sports world.
Yeah.
Who have you been talking sports with?
No one.
Oh
That's
man,
the
just
problem.
pent up sports.
That's why my brain's about to explode.
Oh man, yeah, that is tough. Well, if y'all are like us, we are the same way. We're just texting back and forth a little bit, but today is the day to bring it all back. So here's what we want to do because between now and August, it's literally just a couple weeks. And once August gets here, I don't know if you guys know this, but that's week 0 of the college football season. So we know that you're hyped about college football. We'll have NFL content as well. So we're gonna kind of shift. After today, we'll have one other baseball centered episode that is going to be about the trade deadline, of course, because there's going to be hopefully quite a bit of movement. There's some teams that definitely need to sell. Maybe we'll get
Mhm.
into that today as we go into the All Star break. But between now and week 0, we're actually going to be breaking down the conference.
Yeah. The 6-2 teams, or the 5-2 teams. I'm ready. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's a good thing they cleared house and got rid of all their coaches, because if that's the case, I mean, I tend to believe it because we watched the quarterback play decent at like week 3 to about week 6, we see him, start to look like he's playing better, and then the rest of the season, it just fell off. And I
Hmm.
start to believe that maybe there's some truth to that, because typically we should see a guy get better and start to, see things that he's
Yeah.
doing wrong and stuff like that. He was kept on doing the same things over and over again, and that could be just a rookie quarterback, which is understandable. But if you have a coaching staff in there with you, showing you what you've been doing wrong every single week, you should be able to start to learn some of these tendencies, especially with someone that has the talent that Caleb Williams has. Hmm.
What was it? 5, and they win one more game in the last game of the season.
Hmm.
2 games that he had a QBR that was above average. It's just
Hmm.
it's obvious. And this honestly, the franchise record passing touchdowns, all these things are the worst in the entire history of the NFL. And this isn't the Jaguars we're talking. This isn't the Houston Texans, a new team. This is an old franchise that has no excuse for being at this point. So I know they cleaned house. I'd still be a little bit nervous moving forward, just a little bit. It's a year
Yeah.
behind on development.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, I think the one good thing for him is that you got a guy in there, and Ben Johnson, who is considered a quarterback whisperer and knows how to scheme things up. Because we know Jared Goff isn't the best quarterback. We seen how he was with Sean McVay after they, made it to the Super Bowl, and even the year before they made it to the Super Bowl, he wasn't a great quarterback, and he was able to take Jared Goff and turn him into a top 10
Hmm.
quarterback in the NFL. And so, with
Hmm.
the talent that Caleb Williams has, if he's able to tap into that, I think that it sets him up. And yeah, it may not be this year, more than likely next season, but at least you get someone in there that knows what they're doing. And because obviously Eberflus and everyone that he had hired had no idea what they were doing, because if they let him just go in there and watch the film himself and didn't help him break it down, you should have been fired
Dude,
as soon as you found out about it.
100%. So more on that as we get into the NFL season. But we're actually going to transition now into some baseball news. We're going into the All Star weekend here that is this upcoming weekend. So let's just start with some snubs.
Yeah.
Tubby, who are you most frustrated with? Like they should have been in there. How in the world are they not?
Yeah, I think the first one that comes to mind is Sarah Suzuki. I mean, you lead the major leagues in RBIs. Yeah, you may not have the best batting average. You still have 25 home runs, but we're talking about a guy like Corbin Carroll that gets in, who's batting like 243. He has fallen off hard. Yeah, the injury in June doesn't help him any, but it's not like you are like, oh well, we need a Diamondbacks player. You had Eugenio Suarez, who's
Hmm.
been the best third baseman in baseball this year.
Yeah,
So you didn't. It wasn't like you just had to put someone in there. Seiya Suzuki absolutely should have been in the All Star game especially with the way the Cubs offense has been. That entire outfield should be
dude.
in should be in the All Star game right now.
Yeah, I am
And
surprised they're not. But I would definitely agree. Everyone loves Pete Armstrong. He's got two more
mhm,
home runs than Pete Armstrong. He has two more doubles. He has 10 more RBIs. He's walked 14 more times. Yes, he struck out more times too, but it's the stolen bases.
mhm,
But his average is within 9 points of it, and his OBP is obviously higher, and he's slugging better. I
yeah,
agree. He definitely should be on the All Star ballot, and there's no reason that he shouldn't be. It's crazy to
yeah.
me.
And like I know a lot of people are like looking at the war and all that stuff with
That's
people
all
think
very
Soto,
influenced, yeah.
yeah, like Juan Soto's war, and everyone's in uproar about Juan Soto not being in. Honestly, I don't think Juan Soto deserves to be in. He
Mhm,
hasn't really started playing good until the last like 3 weeks of the season. Before that, he was batting around the 230, 240 range. He's raised that up and he's batting 260 some now, but I don't think that he deserved to be in. Honestly, I don't think Fernando Tatis deserves to be in.
yeah, that's
I
a lot of name. He's really
Yeah,
cooled off this year. The Padres haven't also
yeah,
played nearly as well as we expected.
no, and so honestly, I think that there's a couple of these guys that got in, especially in the National League. We're talking before. I think the American League they did a relatively good job on getting the guys that needed to be in, deserved to be in there. I
Mhm,
think Andy Pages for the Dodgers deserves to be in over Fernando Tatis. He's batting 290. He leads the Dodgers in RBIs, which is an
mhm,
incredible thing to say when you have Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Will Smith, Oscar Hernandez, all within that lineup, and you've got a guy his second year in the major leagues leading the team in RBIs. He already eclipsed his home run numbers from last year. He might have
mhm.
a few less home runs than Tatis, but he's batting 30 points higher than Tatis right now. I I believe that he got snubbed too. I think a couple of these guys got in based off the name and not based off of production, which happens a lot when it comes to the All Star game. But those two guys for sure to me are like the biggest, or some of the bigger snubs. Andrew Abbott for the Reds, I think should have been in the All Star game. He's been one of the better pitchers. Yeah, he got rocked, the other day, but he still has a 2.3 ERA this year,
Yeah,
and so
in that ballpark.
in that ballpark, yeah.
Yeah, so who would be your backup third baseman if with Eugenio Suarez obviously being the nod?
Ooh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, because I have one that I would say. It doesn't necessarily qualify for it yet, and
Hmm.
maybe this is hindsight because I just saw a series where he hit I think 4 home runs, and it's Bush from the Cubs. He has
Yeah,
more home runs, more RBIs. He's hitting better than even Kyle Tucker. So I mean,
yeah,
we're gonna get into the Cubs here in a second, but I'm telling you, this dude is locked in, and he's energized by this whole lineup. And I think I'm surprised that the Cubs fans didn't get him over that because they have been incredibly
yeah,
energized. That fan base has.
yeah, and I think it's much deserved. I mean, we're looking at the Cubs as being probably right now the most consistent offense in baseball. I mean, you absolutely should have more guys in the All Star game than you have because that
Mhm,
offense has been insane. Especially this, you talked about this last week. I mean, as many home runs and as powerful as that offense was, kind of crazy that some of them haven't, didn't get in. And I know you don't want to put too many players on too many teams, but you also got to reward these guys for putting up the seasons that they're putting up right now.
yeah, and if your team is playing the Cubs, first off, if your
Mhm.
team is the Cubs, I'm really frustrated by that. But if your team is playing the Cubs, go on the MLB app and just look at the lineups the day of, and you're going to look at how is this lineup this deep. I think when you look at the Cubs, maybe this is a bit of a transition, unless you have any other All Star snubs you want to talk about.
I mean, the only other one I can maybe think of, and I know he got in, he didn't get in because they gave it to Brandon Lau, which makes sense because, you know, they had to put someone from the Rays in there. But I think Junior Caminero deserved to be in there. He
I could have
has
seen that too.
21 home
Yeah,
runs, 55 RBIs, leads the team in RBIs. He has a better batting average than Brandon Lau, has more home runs, has more doubles, better on base percentage. I think that maybe he had an argument, but also the third base position in the American League is a little more deep than the second base position is.
yeah, no, I'm right there with you. But the Cubs, what I was going to say
Yeah.
before is if you look down, like it is so deep. I mean, obviously they have a little bit with Shaw. He's not been as good so far, but
Yeah.
it'll be fine. If you look at this team, it is stacked, and there's no easy outs. I do think that there's some hot and cold tendencies, obviously from PCA, but he's been almost all hot so far. So
Yeah.
at least at this point, you don't have to worry about it. The break comes at a really tough time. We talked about this last year with the Cincinnati Reds were absolutely on fire heading into the break, and everyone's like, they're the team to beat, they're the team that's going to the Central, and it didn't quite happen. And I'm wondering, are is the Cubs? I think are too talented, have too much depth to have that happen to them. Um,
Hmm.
but is there a team out there that you look at? The break came at the wrong time.
Um, I would say maybe if we're looking, maybe like the Blue Jays or the Rays right now. Two of
Hmm.
I mean, the Blue Jays are somehow in first in the East because of the slide from the Yankees, and the Rays are
Hmm.
tied for second in the East with the Yankees right now, which I
Hmm.
don't think most people saw because if you looked at our predictions, we have them as two of the bottom teams in that division. So
Yeah.
uh, I think that those two teams, I don't buy into them a whole lot just because I think it's just a hot streak right now, and it probably does not play into their favor that the break's coming. They're going to be off for about a week and give the Yankees time to rest up, get ready, revitalize, and it gives the Blue Jays and the Rays a chance to cool off.
Yeah, I like both of those options. The other team I might add is possibly the Brewers. They're going to go
Yeah,
into the break, and they're playing the Dodgers today. They're winning 9
mhm,
nothing right now. They're catching the Dodgers at the
yeah,
perfect time.
yeah,
Uh, but I don't know that they have the lineup to continue this on the whole year. But
hmm,
pitching wise, they continue to do really good things. Woodruff just came back, had a really good game. His first start since 2023, I believe.
yeah,
So I just wonder, is it could it be the same thing that we had from the Reds last year? They're not young in the same way, but
yeah, yeah.
because the
No,
Cubs ultimately should have a runaway in this division. They're only up by 4 games, but it's going to
hmm,
be hard pressed to not see them make the right moves come deadline to empower that
yeah,
like or to deepen that rotation. But I do think like
yeah.
so are the Cubs the team to beat then going into the All Star break in the National League, or is there another team that you trust more?
I would say if we're talking right now, I would say yes, the Cubs are the team to beat. The one question, like I'll have is, the reason why I didn't pick the Cubs is because of the division they're in. I think it is one of the more winnable divisions in baseball. But I worry about a guy like Matthew Boyd. He makes the All Star game, first time, age 31. Is he going to be able to maintain that going into the second half of the season? He's got like a 2.5 ERA right now. He's pitching, some of the best baseball he's ever, pitched in the major leagues. Can he keep that going, and can they get a couple of these guys back at the right time within the rotation? Because I'm pretty sure Jameson Tyone just went on the IL. I believe that Imanaga's still on the IL. So can they come back in time after the All Star break to keep that slide from happening? I think that we'll see them be, movers at the deadline, making trades. And there's a few pitchers out there I don't think we probably expected to be on the trade block, but the teams have kind of underperformed. And yeah, maybe they're not pitching the best right now, but change of scenery
Yeah.
could change everything.
Yeah, Miles Michaelis, Eric Fetty, both yeah, absolutely take a new change of scenery.
Yeah, send them to Chicago.
Yeah, I'd be great with that. Yeah, you ain't got to give us nothing. Just take them.
Just give
I
us
w- I'll
Was
even
it?
pay the salary if you guys go.
There you go.
I don't want to see him anymore.
Be like off Tropic Thunder, get traded for what, a washing machine or something
A
like that.
washing machine, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. That's absolutely crazy. So yeah, we'll see that. I do think so the Phillies, the Mets, and the Dodgers all really good teams. I want to point out something though, real quick. San Diego Padres are 48 and 41. I don't think they have the team to make a deep run as it stands now.
Yeah,
They are 16 and 30 against teams with a winning record. Do you know what team that's the exact same record as?
the Dodgers. No.
No, the Dodgers are actually still above 500. They're only in 2019. They haven't played as many games, but they're still there.
Okay.
It is.
The Red Sox.
I'll pull up. No, Red Sox are still better. They're at 500 against 500 teams. It is the Washington Nationals, 16 and 30.
Ooh.
So you look at just how like they're beating the teams that they should, but how dangerously close
Yeah.
they are to going off on a bad run if the schedule doesn't line up. So I think watch out for them, and the Giants, I believe,
Hmm.
win more in the second half.
Yeah, I would say so too.
Yeah.
I think there's just too much going wrong right now for the Padres, especially when it comes to the rotation.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, what about the Tigers, the team to beat, right?
Yeah,
Not the Astros.
no, give me the
Hmm?
Tigers.
All right.
I
Yeah,
mean,
but
the Astros are on fire right now, so I mean, it's hard to argue against them. But give
Jeremy
me,
Pena. They're on
yeah,
fire without Pena and without
yeah,
Jordan Alvarez. Jordan Alvarez.
that is true. But still, give me that pitching for the Tigers right now. And the Astros pitching is great too. I mean, Framber Valdez is another guy that you could argue should have been on the All-Star team.
Hmm.
But that rotation and for them and the offense, I mean, it's hard to argue against the Tigers right now because they're beating good teams and they're beating the teams that they should beat.
Yeah,
And
58 and
so,
34 right now. I mean, they're
yeah.
going to head in the break at a good time. They won 7 of 10. You're not going to win all your games, but still 7 of 10 is
Hmm.
great. 110 run differential, which is second only to the Cubs at 126. Crazy.
Yeah.
As you go into this, I got some buy low candidates real quick. I'd like to go for you. As we go into the trade deadline, would you want your team, don't think just Dodgers, but just if your team was in a position to make a deep run,
Hmm.
would you want them to trade for this guy if there was a hole? We'll
Okay.
start with Adolis Garcia from the Rangers.
Yes, just because I think the experience, especially if you have a younger team, and you need some outfield help. He hasn't played great since the World
Yep.
Series. We know that, but
Yeah.
I think the experience, if you have a team that you're more than likely to make it to the to the playoffs, I think could pay off a lot because we saw in that World Series run, it was insane how deadly he was in the playoffs.
Yeah. What about Rosselli Iglesias from the Atlanta Braves? A closer that's absolutely has a 5 ERA, 4 blown saves, only 9 converted saves so far this year.
I
You want
would.
him for your bullpen?
It kind of depends on the team when it comes to the pitching. The pitching staff, like the coaches and stuff like that. Can they right some wrongs? Maybe there's something within his delivery because we have seen him be good, and then we've also seen him be bad at times. I think I'll probably say no, just because how volatile and how important the bullpen comes when it comes to the playoffs. And if a guy right now isn't pitching that good, I would be a little more gun shy for a bullpen guy than I would an
Yeah.
outfielder.
Michael Lorenzen for the Kansas City Royals. He's got an ERA just barely under 5 with 92 innings pitched.
I would say yes, just because we have seen him, go on these stretches like we saw last year. I mean, go on these big stretches where he is a really good pitcher, and
Mm-hmm.
maybe just because the whole Royals thing right now is just kind of a dumpster fire with everything that's going on, and
That outfield is
it,
the opposite of what the Cubs have. It's just the polar
yeah,
opposite.
yeah, polar opposite. And so I think change of scenery, put him on a team, where he's not having to be, what is he right now? Probably the third pitcher
Mm-hmm.
within the
Yeah.
rotation, somewhere's at the back end of the rotation where he typically is, make him feel a little bit more comfortable and not feel like he has to be one of the top three guys, but he can be the fifth or fourth starter.
I think it's the only Rocky that you could consider. Ryan McMahon. Would you want him?
Yeah, I mean,
He's hitting
he's the only guy.
260.
yeah, he's hitting 216, but we saw last year if he, I think it's another thing when you look at it is the product of the team. It's hard to be good when you're on a bad team. Especially when you're really the only bat within that lineup, besides the catcher Goodman, who's actually played good this year. It's hard to be consistently good whenever everyone around you is just so bad.
Hmm.
And so I think there will be teams, especially with third base being kind of a weaker position right now, and there not being a whole lot of third basemen out there on the trade block, and we're seeing third basemen go down. We saw Max Muncy out for about a month and a half. Bregman, has
Hmm.
been in and out of the lineup. So you could see, these teams that need a third baseman. I mean, even we talked about the Cubs potentially going out there and making a trade for Ryan McMahon because of how Shaw has not really swung the bat. He's played great defense, but the bat, he's batting 206 right now. Rookie, maybe you just kind of give him some, send him back down, let him, get a little bit more seasoning underneath him because he was only drafted last year. So it's hard to expect him to come up and just be this
Hmm.
offensive weapon that he was down in the minor leagues because we know the jump from AAA to the major leagues is completely different. So
Yeah.
maybe go out there and get a guy like that and you put him in a lineup with all those weapons. I would expect his numbers to go up considerably.
Yeah. No, I like that. And last one, of course, Luis Robert. You want to? Luis Robert, or however you want to
Mm,
say it.
I'm gonna pass on Luis Roberts.
You don't think it's a product of the team?
Uh, no, because we have seen it consistently over the last few years where he had the really big 2022, 2023, whatever it was, these last two seasons. Yeah, it could be a product of the team, but also it seems like just he doesn't enjoy the game very much and doesn't really care.
Yeah.
And I think that's a big thing. And then plus also you got to look at the injury history with the guy.
Yeah, it's
He
bad.
is
It's a long injury
usually,
history.
yeah, usually hurt quite a bit. And so, yeah, maybe if you get him for like super cheap for like your 35th prospect or something, but we know the White Sox aren't going to do that.
Hmm.
So it more than likely their asking price is going to be too high for a guy that has consistent injury history and has played pretty bad the last 2 years.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree on most of those too. Ryan McMahon, I'm a little worried about, but I think it's worth a flyer for depth. I don't think
Yeah.
you want him to start, but depth, absolutely, I don't think
Hmm.
it's worth it. Nationals, maybe a team that might be moving some of the pieces because they've also moved on from their GM,
Yep.
Rizzo, right?
Mike Rizzo. Yep.
Mike Rizzo, after 2013, he was there for a long time, and obviously the manager. Um, is it the right move for this team?
Yes, absolutely.
About
Get a new
time.
face in there. Get a fresh face in there with all the young talent that you have within that organization, within the minor league system. Bring someone else in.
Hmm.
See if someone else can reach these guys. I mean, because we've seen James Wood, he's in the All Star game, deservingly so. But we've seen a guy like Dylan Cruz not really reach his potential, and
Hmm.
a couple of these other high powered prospects not reach it. Maybe they just need someone new to come in there and be the voice of reason, or coaching something to tap into some of that potential that
Hmm.
these young guys have.
Yeah. Well, I would agree too. Yeah, and you know what, Martinez did a fantastic job. Got a World Series. He should be
Yeah,
stoked. He didn't get fired, in the depths of it. But this team has
yeah,
underperformed this year. I think this year's step forward was 500, and they are 16
hmm,
games under 500 when this firing happened. So
yeah.
definitely
I
unexpected.
agree.
Ohtani made his first starts. Obviously, since last time we recorded, he's now got 3 starts. How? I
Yeah.
mean, as a Dodgers fan right now, you got to be feeling pretty good.
I mean, he's looked good. The
Yeah.
the first start was a little rough, but I think that's to
Hmm.
be expected. But since then, I mean, the other two starts, he's looked really solid. Looks like everything, the breaking balls are, doing what they should, tapping in upwards of 102 miles an hour. So, I mean, he threw his fastest pitch
It's
in his
crazy.
second, in his career, in his second start, back from Tommy John. So I think that it will definitely be a good thing for the Dodgers because we've seen the woes that they've had with the rotation. I mean, Tyler Glass now has pitched in the minor league, couple three rehab starts, and I think he has given up more than 5 earned runs every single time. And he's supposed to start on Wednesday or Thursday for the Dodgers, which I
Yeah.
think is absolutely crazy because obviously he's not right now.
Hmm.
So with his injury history, I think that at this point, right before All Star break, I wouldn't let him pitch, but I'm not the manager or the GM, so I guess I don't have a say in
You
this.
should be. that could be fun. It
But
should be.
yeah, so I mean, with the rotation issues that the Dodgers have had, it'll definitely be good after All-Star break. I imagine Ohtani will ramp up even more, and we'll start seeing him throw more innings, in the next couple
Yeah.
weeks.
And you're right. It is Wednesday. That's what I was trying to look up against at Milwaukee. Oof, that'd be fun.
Yeah, yeah, he's not looked good in
Yeah.
his rehab starts in AAA. So
Yeah.
I was kind of surprised because I'm pretty sure his last rehab start he gave up 7 earned runs in two
Well,
innings.
he's just working out the rust. Might as well get those pitches done beforehand, right?
Yeah,
You don't
get the
want
home
any.
run, yeah, get the runs out of the way now. Hopefully,
Yeah, yeah. In Oklahoma City, he's got 3 starts for the Oklahoma City Dodgers. Yeah, not good. Not good, man.
no,
Their
no,
batters are hitting 351 off him.
yeah, in
So
AAA.
yeah, it's not good.
No,
Jordan Walker is about due back with the Cardinals after his splenectomy, I think it was, or
mm-hmm.
appendix burst. He's been
Appendectomy.
something like that. Almost did. He didn't officially do it, but he's been terrible. So
Yeah.
we got one final note that we want to hit today's episode, baseball wise. One of the greatest pitchers of all time hit 3,000 strikeouts this last week. It was a big moment. Um, I think what's really funny is if you go back to his first start, he started, and I can't remember who else it was for the Cardinals. Maybe it was Wainwright, or I can't remember who it was, but it was
No.
two,
So I'm trying to remember how it was. Max Scherzer was his first because it was
right, it
supposed
was
to be
the
Greg. Is
Diamondbacks. That's who it
Yeah, it's
was.
supposed to be Greg Maddox, and I want to say Randy Johnson or someone,
Yeah,
another
and they
Hall of
get
Fame
these.
pitcher.
Yeah,
Yeah, we're
what
supposed to pitch,
a
but they both
matchup.
got scratched, and it was Clayton Kershaw versus Max Scherzer, and they're like two up and coming pitchers. You know, many years later, the two of the best pitchers over the last 20 years.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, those two pitchers they've combined for 6,400 strikeouts. Only Justin Verlander has more.
Yeah,
Obviously, he has 22 more seasons, and he has about 50 more strikeouts. So,
yeah.
here's the question that I have to you, and then you can say whatever you'd like to about Clayton Kershaw as a pitcher and the fan. How, is he the final 3,000 pitcher?
Ooh, that's tough. I mean, because I
Chris
don't the
Sale's at
strikeout.
2,500 right now, and
I
Garrett
don't know if
Cole's
he'll
at
make it.
22.
I don't know if he'll make it either.
Yeah,
I
those
mean,
are the closest guys.
there's a very good chance just because the strikeout numbers aren't as big as they used to be, and you would think that wouldn't be the case. And plus, another thing is pitchers just don't throw as many innings,
They're not throwing
and
nearly as many innings.
yeah, and so I would probably say if baseball trends continue the way they are, I would say yes, just because
Hmm.
I think Chris Sale's getting too old. And he's still pitching good, but he's hurt right now, and so that definitely doesn't help. And we've seen somewhat of a fall off from Garrett Cole over the last couple of years, and he's been injured a little bit too here and there. So I would probably say yes, just because, like I said, the way the trends in baseball are going right now, guys aren't pitching most of the time more than 5 innings, and the strikeout numbers just aren't as high as they used to be.
Yeah, the 3 guys they mentioned, Verlander, Scherzer, and Kershaw, they have all pitched 230 multiple times or more innings per
Hmm.
game per season, and the most that you've seen, obviously, from Chris Sale was 226. I don't think you're going to see that again. That was all the way back in 2016.
Yeah,
And then Garrett Cole, the most he has ever pitched is 212. So it's not that big of a difference. That is a huge difference for
huge.
sample
Yeah.
size to be able to
Hmm.
accumulate. These are accumulative stats. This isn't K per
Yeah.
nine, which is a different number. So
Yeah.
I don't know. When you look at him, you look at obviously Pujols 700. It's just some of these nice, awesome, amazing round numbers. They're gone. Even seeing
Yeah.
Adam Wainwright get to 200 wins in his final season, as bad as that last season was, I was like, how many
Yeah.
more legit 200 win pitchers will you have?
Yeah, I mean, it's the truth because of the philosophy in baseball. I mean, they don't you don't want to see your pitcher face the lineup 3 times. So, you know, even if they're pitching good, a lot of times it's 4 or 5 innings and then go to the bullpen. And it's just the way things are going, which I hope eventually it changes because I don't like to see that. I don't like to see my bullpen guys throw, 100 plus innings every single year. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, and
But
maybe that'll be a conversation for another episode where we talk about the max velo and will it ever tick back down because the massive numbers of injuries that continue to just pile up at will.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so, yeah, I would say that there's a good chance that this will be the last one we see for quite a while, unless there's some young pitcher waiting in the wings that is just an absolute strikeout machine. And
That's true.
he's, yeah, but yeah, how many Tommy John surgeries will he end up having to have will be the
Hmm.
question, and how many seasons will he miss due to injury is one of the biggest things. And so, yeah, I mean, it's great to see Kershaw finally hit that mark. I mean, the injuries over the last few years have definitely slowed the chance of getting to 3,000, but he
Yeah,
hit it, and now he is the top all time when it comes to ERA plus in baseball history.
let's go. So he needs to be remembered as one of the greatest pitchers,
Yeah,
at least of our generation. Be one of those
yeah,
guys. He's just too talented
absolutely.
for
I
so
mean,
long too.
yeah, that stretch in the 20 teens was one of the best stretches you'll ever see when it comes to pitching wise. I mean, multiple seasons below 2 ERA, MVP season. He, yeah, everyone will point to the postseason numbers, but we're talking about a guy that was one of the most dominant
Should have
pitchers.
had 2 rings too, or three
Oh,
rings.
absolutely.
He should
Yeah.
have had the one against the Astros. That
Hmm.
game, never forget in that series, and
Yeah.
that's absolute. Usually, like it's like they know exactly what's coming because they did.
When
Never
he
forget.
dominated the first 4 innings of that game. And then the fifth inning comes around, and all of a sudden they were able to find out exactly what pitches laying off the breaking ball and then just only hitting fastballs.
You
They knew
can't tell
exactly
me
what
he
was
was
coming.
tipping his pitches because they were doing it to every single pitcher at that point. It was insane.
Yep. And it's the same thing with Yu Darvish.
Yeah,
Yu Darvish in
exactly.
that series. He was
Dude,
dominant for the first 4 innings, fifth inning come around, and all of a sudden you can hit him now. Don't buy it.
don't buy it. You don't buy it.
Bunch of
Here at the W
cheaters.
podcast, we don't buy it. The Astros
No.
still, they do
Yeah.
want to get that championship null and
Yeah.
void.
Yeah.
So make sure you continue to follow for great content like that. We're going to be back again later this week with another episode. So stick around if you haven't already. Consider subbing. We appreciate you guys, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
See ya.